What's up, guys? It's a new bike day. The Ari Timp Peak 2 here's. Let's learn all about it.
What do you say?
Yes.
Yes, this is the new Ari Timp Peak 2.0, powered by the Bosch CX Gen 5 drive unit. In this tech check feature, made in partnership with Ari Bicycles, we're going to cover all the details and talk about our first ride impressions. So let's get into it. Ooh. Actually feels quite lively. Yeah, pretty nice. So quiet. Oh God. Yes, so this is the new Ari Timp Peak 2.0, and most notably they've made the switch to the Bosch CX Gen 5 drive unit, but they've also made refinements and adaptations throughout to really elevate the performance of this new machine. With that CX Gen 5 drive unit, you still get 85 Newton meters of torque and up to 600 watts of peak power, and it can be powered by either a 600 or an 800 watt hour internal battery, which can be removed without removal of the motor, so you can make a quick switch in the trailhead if you buy a second battery, or just generally pull it out to charge it in your garage or whatever you need. This can also be boosted further by the 250 watt hour Bosch PowerMore range extender, really taking the overall battery life to a potential 1050 watt hours for huge days out in the saddle. With that 600 watt hour battery, you save 2.2 pounds of the overall weight, really improving the overall handling dynamics. But actually, Ari recommends giving the 800 watt hour a try, because you might just be surprised about the handling characteristics of the bike, and so far we can say we've been fairly impressed too. For the Timp Peak 2.0, Ari's kept the 170mm of rear Tetralink 4-bar suspension, but they've revised the kinematics, so the leverage ratio is a little bit more progressive, so it'll work best with super high volume air shocks like the new Vivid Air or coil shock. They've reduced the anti-rise down to a really low 40%, which is fairly consistent around the travel, meaning that your braking influence has very little effect on the suspension, meaning the rear end, whether you're on or off the brakes, can be really reactive to the terrain, giving you nice traction and comfort. And then the anti-squat sits at around about 100% throughout the travel, giving you nice pedaling support without being overly harsh when you're pedaling through the rough stuff. For the Timp Peak 2.0, Ari really focused on making this bike super adaptable. So they gave it the tagline, your e-bike, your way. And with that, they mean that you've got four-way adaptability in the flip chips. So down at the rear end, you've got a chainstay flip chip, giving you different bottom bracket heights and chainstay lengths. And then up on the seat stay pivot, you've got another flip chip, giving you different head tube angle and bottom bracket heights. So really you can take this bike from really low and slacked out to something a little bit higher and more nimble to really suit the terrain that you're going to be riding on a certain day. And because they're just flip chips, they're really nice and easy to make those changes. We're going to go ahead and flash up a little geo table here if you want to check out the full numbers, but most notable, the changes are going to be a slightly higher stack height to give you a little bit more kind of feeling of integration into the bike for more descending confidence. Because of that adjustable chainstay length, you can now get a slightly longer rear end, giving you a little bit more of a center position between the wheels. And then the seat tube angle has been steepened a little bit as well, giving you a nice and central seating position for getting up steeper climbs. Ari really worked on the details to make this bike absolutely bulletproof, giving both their team riders and their customers peace of mind that this is going to stand up to a lot of abuse out on the trails. So now there's a new generous shuttle guard up by the head tube. There's a fibre reinforced nylon bash guard for the motor, meaning that you can scrape this thing all over rocks and really bash it into anything without too much concern. And Ari used the most stringent testing standards yet to develop this frame, just to make sure it's really going to handle all of the abuse. This is also backed by their lifetime warranty, which quite impressively can be transferred to the second owner as well, meaning that for years down the line you're going to be able to give this thing a lot of abuse, and if you do happen to have an issue, Ari will be able to sort you out with it. The details are well covered in quite premium fashion. You know, even though Ari is a direct-to-consumer brand, they're really pushing the quality of their bikes these days. So you get things like tube-in-tube cable routing, you get generous protection on the seat stay and chain stays, making this bike run really quietly, especially when you combine it with that quieter Bosch Gen 5 motor. And then they've made plenty of space in that front triangle. In addition to the battery being able to slide out in front of the motor, you can also get a nice and large water bottle in the front triangle, as well as fit an accessory to the underside of the top tube to carry all the essentials with you as you ride. Ari leverages their position as a direct consumer brand by really offering some customization in the spec and the fit of the bike. So they have a 23-point customization fit program where you input all of your details, your height and your arm span, your body weight, your riding style, and Ari will make some changes to the spec just to fit you best. Ari offers the Timp Peak 2.0 in a choice of builds from $6,699 to $8,999, and they also offer a frame, shock and drive unit combination for $5,199, meaning you can upgrade, say, your previous generation Timp Peak 2.0 without having to buy new components throughout. We tested the $7,999 Elite level build, which comes with RockShox Ultimate suspension, SRAM GXT type transmission, and nice TRP Evo Pro brakes. If you want to learn all about the specs, head to the website in the description below. But for now, let's talk about the ride impressions. Alright, so first ride impressions on the Ari Timp Peak 2.0. So far I've had one day riding this bike, really just going to give you initial ride impressions and talk about a little bit how the feeling differs compared to the outgoing original Timp Peak. So important to note, and maybe something I didn't mention earlier, is that this is a mullet setup. It is also 29er compatible if you stick it into the long chainstay setting, but we've been testing it in the short rear end, mullet wheel, and low BB setting. So really the lowest and most raked out setting you're going to get this bike into. And so far, because of that, it's definitely been a little bit low slung to the ground. Pedal clearance is not excellent, but the overall seating position that the bike puts you in because of that steep seat tube angle has been quite manageable on even the steepest of climbs, even with that short rear end. So I'm really excited to play about with that chainstay setting to see if it can be even better. I really like the Bosch CX Gen 5 drive unit. It's actually one of my favorites right now. The control of that system is fantastic. It's really low in its noise, both up and down the hill, and this whole bike just runs absolutely silently as a result. And yeah, it's just fantastic. The power is maybe not quite there with the likes of the DJI Avinox, of course, and something upcoming from one of the big brands. But other than that, it's absolutely excellent drive unit. Unless you're wanting to climb up the steepest of stuff and really race up the hill, it's going to make you very happy, I think. We've been testing it with the 800 watt-hour batteries so far. You can, of course, save 2.2 pounds of the overall bike weight and go for the 600 watt-hour battery. I think that 600 watt-hour battery is going to be the call for riders who are looking for the most playful and dynamic kind of handling bike. But so far, the 800 watt-hour has still been fairly maneuverable. And certainly for me as a heavier rider, I think it'd be the choice that I would go for, just so I can make sure I don't have too much of the range anxiety and get plenty of time out in the saddle on a bigger day. And so far I've been very happy with the handling. This does feel like a much more kind of plush and downhill focused bike than the outgoing Timp Peak. That Timp Peak was really supportive and really playful as a result, but I did find that when it got really rough and rowdy, I wasn't quite as confident as on some of the competition, whereas with this bike it feels a lot more capable and just takes the edge off of the rougher terrain a lot better. And I've been really impressed by that so far, and that's just been with a really basic initial suspension setup. So excited to take this bike into our upcoming e-bike shootout and really play about with it some more, log many more miles on it and see how it stacks up against the competition. But for now, I think Ari's done a killer job at putting together the Timp Peak 2.0. It's a bike that I've thoroughly enjoyed testing. And I think for a lot of riders who are especially looking for a really adaptable and slightly more capable overall bike, both up and down the hill, the Timp Peak 2.0 is really going to deliver. I hope you guys have enjoyed checking out this video on the Ari Timp Peak 2.0. Huge thanks to Ari for giving us the bike prior to its launch so we can deliver this feature to you. And we're excited to include this bike in our upcoming e-bike shootout, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss out on that. And also consider hitting the description below where we'll put a link to our members only page. If you haven't checked out already, there's loads of cool opportunities in there, so consider hitting that, joining the wolf pack and helping us deliver this content on awesome bikes like the Ari Timp Peak 2.0. Thank you for watching, catch you out on the trails.